And we are live.
Don't call me a thesaurus. There's going to be a lot of quotes on this.
I am Groot. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back into another Disney movie review. We are back and better than ever. And today we have a special guest who's in the background right now. Cooking some dinner, but they'll be in a little bit. But today we are going back over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we are bringing onto the show today, for me, what was unknown characters before this movie came out. And today, Dan and I will be reviewing Volume 1 of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm actually glad, Dan, that we picked the first movie, not the second.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the sequel first in the review, so I'm really glad that you picked that. But welcome in, pal. How you doing?
It wasn't deliberate, let me tell you.
No, I know. But how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's great to be back on Disney Movie Review. We took a week off and spent some time with family, and it's been a really it's good to every now and again take those weeks off and just have a little bit of a break. And we are back. We are reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy, which we both. We've spoke about Marvel so many times, and it's great to dive back into the MCU and Guardians of the Galaxy. And our special guest will be here soon. Who again, when we talk about Marvel, we know people who love their Marvel. So we've got a special guest coming. He's coming. Yeah. He's just making some chips / crisps / French fries, whatever you call them over there. But I don't know.
For sure. But anyway, We'll do some quick mousekeeping before we get started and we dive right into the movie. And then we'll kind of get moving. Of course, Dean over at The Live Place is theliveplace.com. Check him out. There's plenty of live streamers out there. Melissa and I are one of them that live stream from the parks. But there are also a lot of people that live stream like this, like we're doing right now, that live stream from home, that have great content and have great categories and topics that they talk about, not necessarily in the parks. A lot of those places you can get at the Live Place, including streams from the parks as well. Don't get me wrong. Yep. So if you're looking for a stream and you're not sure where to look, go to theliveplace.com. Dean is the TV guide of Live Place. Of live streams, he is the guy for sure. And speaking of partner channels, this guy over here is one of my 2 partner channels. He is Disney Dan. Dan goes live on Thursdays sometimes with Nuts About Disney.
Saturdays is the new day.
Yeah. So Fridays usually with some Disney Food Friday. Saturday with Disney Fiasco at 7 o'clock every Saturday night. Always has great topics. And last but not least, right here with me on Sundays for Disney Movie Review, pal. Good to have you. How are you?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Disney Fiasco was great yesterday. We talked about our favorite Disney rides, our favorite Disney ride theme songs, which was a lot of fun. That was episode 108, so next week will be 109. So it's my flagship show, and it's a really fun show to be part of and to be doing for over 2 years now. And we're on that road to 2,000 subscribers. I think we're around 45 subscribers away. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please feel free to do so. We're gonna hit that milestone hopefully by the end of 2020. So
2K. And our surprise guest is ready in the background. We're gonna bring him in just a second. Our other partner channel is Steve's World. Steve goes live on Mondays with Just Another Monday Night. He goes live on Wednesdays with the Disney Net Crew, and of course Saturdays with me with Sports Night. Welcome to all of our members that are here. We're gonna go over them in just a minute. Membership members, thank you for your generosity and your loyalty. We got a big group of members now, and we just appreciate all of them. But let me bring in our special guest, and then we'll get to the chat. None other than Marvel expert himself. Just got off of Nerd Talk.
Ta-da!
It's Kenzie Days' dad. That's how I'm going to introduce you.
Well, thank you. Kenzie Days, and that's the way you should. You should totally, 100% always introduce me as Kenzie Days' dad, because Kenzie is awesome.
She is awesome.
No doubt.
I didn't know Kenzie Days' dad was Iron Man.
I know. That's the glasses he wore in I think it was the first movie.
That's the only compliment you're getting. No, I'm kidding. What are that? What?
That looks good. Oh, those
what
are
those?
Grayson, welcome in, buddy.
Those are French fries, Dan.
Yes, they are. They are over
chips.
here.
They're not chips.
Tracy, thanks for joining us, pal. We appreciate it. I know you're eating dinner, so I appreciate you coming on with us, bud. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to be talking Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy. Hey, there she is. There's the superstar. Well, let me say hi really, really fast. I'm going to say hi to the chat really, really fast, and then we're going to dive right into this. Wendy Luhu, one of our members, I am Groot, she says. Big Disney fan is here as well. Let's see. There's Disney Dan. There's Rachel Loves Disney. Canadian Bacon, welcome in. I love that name. That's such a good name, Canadian Bacon. Alex, the filmmaker. Candy Mom is in the house, another member, our first member. Let's see who else is here. Michelle the Quilter is here. Joshua Thompson's in the house. Joshua, good to see you. Mary Mai is here. Good to see you. England, Portugal, 91, welcome in. Good to see you again. And I think for now we are up to date. But welcome in, everybody. So, Dan, let's kind of explain how Disney Movie Review works.
Yep.
Basically, the three of us will kind of break down the movie. We won't get too in depth, but we'll kind of go over the first, second, and third acts, I guess, of the movie. We'll talk about our favorite characters, maybe favorite scenes and things like that. And then in the end, we are going to give our letter grade. Now, it's always a letter grade, and this is new for Tracy as well. We give either a letter grade of an A+ for the best of the best, oh my gosh, you can't miss it, or an F. And we have given out Fs on this show before. Me,
you have,
myself, and I've given out an F on this show. Dan has not, but I have. So it is possible for a movie to get an F. But Craig's Robotics, welcome in as well, buddy. Thank you for being here. But let's kind of talk about, first and foremost, I want to ask both of you. We'll start with Tracy as our guest. Tracy, what did you know about Guardians of the Galaxy before the movie? Let's just kind of an overview for you.
Nothing. I knew nothing. I mean, and like when we talk about, when we do the nerd talk, our Marvel guy is Russ. Russ is the Marvel guy.
Yeah.
He's the one
we've had on the show.
Yes. Yeah, we've had him on.
Yeah.
He knows the Marvel comics compared to the movies. Okay. And that's where Star Wars, I'm a lot farther delved into the Star Wars universe than I am the Marvel. So what I knew from Marvel was pretty much what I seen as a kid on TV: Spider-Man, X-Men, Iron Man, some of that stuff. So I didn't know much of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because this movie totally changed the Marvel look for me.
Gotcha. Okay. Rod Priester, welcome in. Shiny Prisma Y, welcome in as well. And I don't know if I said hi to Craig's Robotics, but I'm going to say it again just in case. Craig's Robotics, welcome in. Dan, what about you? What did you know about Guardians of the Galaxy before the movies?
Well, the only thing I knew about it really was, so I don't know how many people played this in the chat, or I don't know if you guys played it or if Kenzie played it, but the Lego Marvel video games.
Me, play them all the time.
Right. So
yes.
At the end of the first Lego Marvel Superheroes game, there was the after credit scene of the Guardians of the Galaxy when you complete the game. And I had no idea who these were. I just saw like a tree and a raccoon with a gun and this guy with a yellow helmet. And like it looked very bizarre. I had no idea. And that's the only thing I really knew about Guardians of the Galaxy before the movies. And before we like dive into like what Guardians was, it's great to have three big Star Wars fans, because at the time when this was released, I feel like a lot of people were saying this was the new modern Star Wars like film. Like this was, well, I don't know, people I've spoke to, people were comparing this to not like Star Wars-esque, but like it's set in outer space, new characters, new things that, you know, it's almost sort of like a new outer space journey, like Star Wars, like Star Trek, like all these sci-fi kind of.
Right. Gotcha. Well, me, I'm like both of you. I knew for me, I knew nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy, period. I had never even heard of these characters before the movie came out. They said Rocket Raccoon and Drax, and I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. Yeah. And I really was worried. I really didn't know what
they
to
took
expect.
a big gamble with this.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. And now I'll say this, when it comes to the correlation to Star Wars, remember, this was the first movie that really went to outer space in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. Captain America, Iron Man, well, I guess Thor did. I take that back. Yeah. Thor did, but Thor went to another world. This was more about space as a whole, I guess. It really didn't have anything to do with Earth except the first, and we're going to get into it, the first 5 minutes of the movie. So I'm with you guys. I knew nothing about it. Yeah. But let's kind of talk about the very beginning of this movie, because this is where, for me, it really, the first 5 minutes really has to catch me and to really get me going. And this one did, because we start in 1988, Earth, and they're playing that song, I'm Not Enough, or whatever it is. I'm not enough. Whoa, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And they're playing that, and he's got it in his ears. I can hear it. Yeah, yeah. Yep. And he's, what is he, 10, 12?
Yeah, he's young. He's
young. Maybe 8.
He's not in his teens.
Early teens. He might be 13 at the most. Yeah. But anyway, he's in the hospital, and of course his mom's dying. And they bring him in to see his mom. And she says something that's really neat in that scene when they talk about his dad. Yeah. And of course, that's a correlation to the sequel, which there'll
be a lot of hints throughout the next movie.
But she's passing away, and she says, you're a lot like your dad, and he was such an angel. And he'll come back and get you someday. And that's really all you hear about of the dad.
Yeah.
And it's a really riveting scene. I mean, he's right there and his mom dies right in front of his eyes, and he runs outside and he's crying, and all you see is this light and then this ship, and it kind of beams me up Scotty.
Yeah, pretty much.
And off he goes.
Like that scene where the light comes down, because before that, I mean, you knew it was going to be a space movie, but it's like the first time I watched Fifth Element.
Yeah,
I like the Fifth Element personally.
Oh, I'd like the Fifth Element too, but like when the first time you see that ship come down, when they're looking for, and you see, I mean, it just got to a point where like you knew it was going to be a space movie, so they start off on Terran or Earth.
Yeah.
And it's totally different, like I wasn't expecting to start off on Earth. I knew it was going to be a space movie. I didn't expect it to just be starting here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And then, so really, we're starting off on a really serious note. And since I knew nothing about the movie, I thought for a minute here that we were going to have a really kind of serious movie. I didn't know. Because then the next scene, we go to Morag, whatever, Morag or wherever, this deserted planet. And it's, again, really serious at first. And you see this guy coming off this ship.
He's red, binocular.
Yes.
Mask.
And he's like, and it's the ominous music. And
he looks kind of evil, like really.
Yeah.
Like,
But then he's there, and he's like, and it's pouring down raining, and it's a deserted planet. They got all these monsters. And all of a sudden, he takes off the mask, and you see him, and he's still got this real serious look. And then he pulls out the cassette player, and then they started playing. Hey! What? And then it's just, I looked over at my two sons, because it was me and Walter and Mason that went and saw it. Melissa didn't go. I think she was working that day. I looked over at them, and they didn't know what to expect. I actually started laughing because I love that song.
Yeah, Come and Get Your Love
is one of my favorite songs ever.
And I think that's sort of like
our first
sort of foot in the door of how great this soundtrack of this film is.
That's what everybody's saying. Yes, it's
I think
true.
In terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, look, the Avengers theme and the theme at the end of Endgame is all amazing. But in terms of like how a movie uses modern music, like, pop music, and it's fantastic because you have this kid who was taken out of the 80s. He was used to all these 80s classics, and they're using it as sort of a background setting, and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love that they bring out all these classic songs and that alone. And when he picks up that little alien and he goes like, hey, and it's great. And they even mock that in Avengers Endgame, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. So, but what's funny is, and Tracy, agree or disagree with me, the music is really part of the character development of Star-Lord to me.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
What helps his character.
Because you got to remember, he's only the character development. I mean, these are the songs his mom listened to, and if you noticed, some of these songs, they're not just 80s songs. It's late 70s, early 80s. So that's what's ingrained into him. He's got his mom's style. So
Mhm.
that whole feel, and then the gift at the end of the movie, which opens up a whole nother thing. I mean, I would say this, as far as soundtracks, the two Guardians of the Galaxy and Ragnarok, hands down, are the best soundtracks of all the movies, and that's because it's movies that we grew up listening to, or at least us here in the States. I mean, I'm assuming
you and I, it's our age. I mean, I'll be 50 this year, so that's
40.
my music.
Right, I'm 46. I'll be 47 next year. So,
hey, look, I wish I was born in like the 50s and the 60s because I love that music.
I wasn't born in the 50s and 60s.
I was born in 74, bro. Come on.
I was born in 70. George Priestley, welcome in. No, I actually like 50s and 60s music too. So
yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that kind of music. I do.
But when you think about it, just thinking how the soundtrack defines who he is.
I think it does. For me, it does. Yeah, and I agree.
That tape deck alone, that cassette player, that's it. That's what makes it.
It's also his connection to being a human.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't know where he got batteries for that Walkman in all those years, but I don't know about you, but I remember having a Walkman, and those things did not last long. When you heard that song starting to slow down, you knew you had to get batteries.
Yeah.
Only thing I could assume is I'm going to take it under assumption that obviously he went back from time to time and got batteries and maybe even stocked up.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean, but
he got batteries from the Sovereign in Guardians 2. That's what happened.
That's true too. I mean, their technology is a lot better than ours.
Well,
so
how
maybe
come
they
now
don't need it.
That Sony Walkman in all those years didn't eat that tape?
No, he took very good care of it.
You got to understand. I mean, people our age knows exactly what it means when you hear that thing.
He had an Apple charger on hand.
Right. Well, I'm going to take into account that we got to kind of suspend some belief with this for sure.
Yeah.
But basically, at this point, right. So at this point, he's on this deserted planet because he's getting what at the time he's thinking it's called the orb. Okay, and he's there, and he's actually not the only one that's come to get this. Really? Ronan has sent some of his goons to get it as well. He just happened to get there first. But what's really neat is what, and we'll get to it, what is the orb itself? It's not the orb, it's what's inside. That's what's so important. They really don't touch on that until about halfway through the movie as to what it really is.
Yeah, this is your Indiana Jones, MacGuffin kind of film. Everyone is chasing the orb. Everybody is going after this orb. It's that kind of film that everybody's chasing the object of the film. Mm-hmm. And it's used in so many films. Indiana Jones, it's used in Star Wars, it's used in Lord of the Rings, it's used in everything. Mm-hmm. And I think what they do with this film is really great, because this orb, we know it's powerful. We know there's a weapon. We know it's a weapon. We don't know what's inside it until halfway through the movie. And it kind of gets a little bit interesting. And all Star-Lord wants to do with this orb is to sell it off. That's all he wants to do. Right.
And what happened is you have three different people that are coming after this orb. First, you have Ronan's coming after it. And he sends his goons, or Goonie, one of them,
the Goonies,
in Gamora to come and get it. You've got... of course, Star-Lord, who's trying to sell it as well. And also, well, I guess they're not coming after the orb, but then that's when we find out about Rocket and Groot, who are actually I guess they're bounty hunters at first, because they're after Star-Lord, because they're looking for people that they can take back. And what's the highest bounty? He had a $40,000 credit on his head. Mm. And that's when we kind of meet all of them kind of clash for the first time, is on the Nova. I guess it's just called Nova. Is that correct?
Planet Nova.
Planet Nova, right. Welcome in, Simba 2. Thank you for being here, Matt. Good to see you, buddy. Andy Aprisco is here as well. So
Isn't it called Xandar? Isn't it called Xandar?
Xandar, that's it.
Xandar. Xandar is the home world, and
Nova Prime is like
Nova Prime. It's Glenn Close.
Like the police, the headquarters.
The Nova Prime, the Nova Corps.
Well, no, Nova Prime is Glenn Close. That's her character's name. The Nova Corps is kind of like the military, the army. Yes. Yep. And that's where they are. They're on Xandar, and they're taking it to this person to sell it, and then that's where they kind of all clash for the first time, and it's actually a really good scene.
I like it.
How they all come together.
I love the fact when we meet Rocket and he's like looking through the binoculars and he points it at a child. He's like, "What do you think you're doing, taking advantage of this person? Walk by yourself down the stairs."
He goes, this guy here with that haircut, he should be arrested for that haircut. or the Stan Lee.
The Stan Lee cameo.
Where's your wife, old man? He's such a good. He's actually a very good character, and I don't know about you guys, but until I looked it up, I didn't know that was Bradley Cooper.
I did.
I tell you what, Marvel nailed the casting on this movie. They really, really did. You have Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, who I think is one of the best actresses around right now. She's been in like everything. Vin Diesel, perfect role for him. Bradley Cooper. You have, like we said, Glenn Close is in this film.
So Michael C. Riley, who's the
John C. Riley.
John C. Riley is one of the Nova Corps. Lee Pace.
Pace is Ronan. You have what's his name? Is it Sean Gunn as James Gunn's brother, who plays?
And Michael Rooker. Michael Rooker
as
plays
Yondu.
Or Yondu. Yeah,
Yondu.
Who plays Yondu. Great cast.
You got Amy Pond as Nebula.
Karen Gillan, as
no. Just Amy Pond. Come on. We know it's Amy Pond. Any good Doctor Who enthusiast knows it's just Amy Pond.
I've never seen Doctor Who, so I can't speak. I've never seen Doctor Who.
You'd love it.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry.
No, Karen Gillan plays.
Yes, Karen Gillan.
Good actress.
Nebula. Just an amazing cast. Really, and when they all came together for the first time, really does sort of. It's really good. I like the short things in life, and this is gonna hurt. That's what Rocket says when he's shooting down.
And that's the scene. Basically, that's the entire scene. It's the four of them fighting, but for different reasons. Him and her talking about Star-Lord and Gamora fighting over the orb, but Rocket and Groot, they're just trying to get him because they want the bounty. Put him
in the back. Not her, put him in the back.
Yes, exactly. And then all four of them get caught and they get taken to jail, which is called the Kiln. I think it was called the Kiln.
The Kiln. The Kiln is a prison.
Yep, it's a prison. So they're all in prison, and they basically, just to kind of, because time is already 6:23 here, they have to escape from this prison.
I love it.
And they ultimately do, and it's such an elaborate escape. And if you guys have never seen the movie, that scene alone is one of the funnier, more creative scenes in the movie. Is the escape from the jail?
I'm a sucker for escaping prison films, like Shawshank Redemption, Escape Plan. I just love sort of escape prison kind of films, and this really did it for me because I love how they sort of entered the Kiln where the guy was listening to his tape deck. He's like, "Get away from that!" He's like, "That's mine."
It's true. But you're right. And Tracy, we were just talking about it, but it reverts back to how it's part of his character development, because when he did escape, he wasn't leaving until he got his tape deck.
And you do sort of get lots of sorts of characterization from all the characters really here. You see when they're all getting changed into their uniforms, you see Rocket with all of his sort of things
cybernetics.
Cybernetics in his back. You see Groot take on that big butchering guy by putting his fingers through his nose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I want to mess with us. This is our booty.
If I'm not mistaken, that's Simon Pegg, who does the voice for the guy who gets the stuff up his nose.
Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was Nathan Fillion.
I thought it was Nathan Fillion.
I'm trying to remember because I know Simon Pegg was a character in this movie. I'm not 100% sure which one it was.
Okay,
but I think.
Yeah,
Maybe it was Nathan Fillion, but I know Simon Pegg's been in both Star Wars and Star Trek, and I think he also did at least the character voice in this one too.
Yeah. It might have been. Maybe I got the wrong character, but it's such a great. And you just talked about it, and Tracy, I'll ask you about this. In the prison scene is where we actually get some of the character development of Drax. We kind of we get his motivation.
I gotta say, what's nice about this movie, all in all, like you said, we're getting about 625. All in all, this is probably one of the best origin stories I've ever seen of any superhero movie.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they let it slowly develop. You didn't. We're like, if you look at Justice League, it just threw them all together.
Right.
This brought them one at a time. You got invested a little bit, and where they did it in a micro movie, what they did with the rest of the Marvel universe. They started off singly, coming in before they hit Avengers. They did it in this movie, but within one movie. You started off on Star-Lord, then you brought in the rest, one at a time, and just the way that they brought this group together. I liked how they did this in one, and I think maybe Sean, the director James Gunn was the right director for this because he understood this topic.
Right. Absolutely. Because each one was given enough time for character development to understand their motivations behind different things. They explained why Gamora was doing what she was doing. They explained Drax's mother, his wife and his daughter were slaughtered by vermin.
It needed to happen because no one knew these characters.
Right.
No. It was so well written that look, 99.9% of people who, unless you really knew your comic books and who went into the movie theater, you didn't know who the Guardians were. And that's what I think I agree with what you both were saying. Like, they needed to show us, what these characters were, what their backgrounds were, what are their motivations. And they did it brilliantly. They really did.
Timothy Rainwater's welcome in, and Caitlin Make It Blue welcome in.
And that's why I'm waiting to see how the new Suicide Squad will come out, knowing that James Gunn's directing that. He knows, he understands it. Unfortunately, not every time does a Marvel director move to the DC and we get a good movie out of it. I mean, look at Justice League. Justice League tried to do what, Josh Whedon is a great director, understands the universe and understands what he's doing. He tried to bring Marvel feel to that DC and it didn't work.
Right. Well, I got a lot to say on the Suicide Squad. Personally, I think it's too many characters. You can't develop that many characters. It's way too many. But that's just
that's another stream. And if I haven't aggravated you enough, where if you ever invite me back, I'd love to talk about any of the movies.
Oh, we'll have you back on. Don't worry about that, pal. Don't worry about that.
I'm a true nerd at heart, and so.
No, it's going to be great. Yeah, we'll definitely. Don't worry about that. You definitely will be invited back on for sure. But let's kind of jump ahead. So they do escape from prison, and now they're going to Nowhere. I mean, it's an actual place called Nowhere, and at Nowhere is where they're taking the orb to finally sell it off for 4 billion credits, which I guess in our money would be $4 billion or 4 billion pounds, and they're taking it to Catalina Tavarin, better known as the Collector. By the way, for me, this is a great cast.
Benicio
del Toro as the Collector was
perfect.
Really done well.
Perfect.
But this is where we're about halfway through the movie at this point, Dan. This is where we finally see what the orb really is.
Correct.
Yep.
Leading up to this, obviously we've met Ronan here and there and how he's sort of interacting with Thanos, and they kind of know what the orb is, but they haven't really told us what it is. Ronan is almost chasing the Guardians. They're going to the kiln. They pretty much killed everybody in the kiln.
Yeah, agreed.
They know what the orb is. They just need to sort of catch up to the Guardians, and that's where we end up in Nowhere, because while the Guardians go and visit Tanavita Tavan, there's a bit of an altercation between Rocket and Drax, because
they were both drunk.
They're both drunk. They were at a bar. They were they're watching some animal fight, whatever it is. They get drunk, and while Gamora and Star-Lord have this really fun scene where he talks about Kevin Bacon in Footloose, it's great. I love it. There's a really great guy. One of my heroes, his name is Kevin Bacon in a movie called Footloose. It's great. I love it. And while they're sort of, having
A moment.
Rocket and Drax sort of get at each other. And I feel Rocket, for me, really got Rocket's character even more. He didn't want to be made and pulled apart over and over again. He called me vermin. She called me rodent. Like, I feel it. I feel his pain. Like, because leading up to that, he never had, he was always that arrogant and, just wants to stuff, whatever. And then Drax goes off and he just wants to avenge his family. And because hey, Shelley, what's going on? And he wants to take revenge on Ronan because Ronan actually killed his family. So he finds some guy and sends a message to Ronan saying, come get me. I'm here at nowhere. And this is where it's all going down.
Right.
On the other side,
the guy. Yeti, welcome in. I got to say hi to Super Fluffy Yeti. Maybe the best name.
I totally agree. And the Guardians meet Tanavir Tavan, the Collector. I love when Rocket walks past the dog in the space helmet.
Oh, we know who that is.
Yeah. And we find out what actually is inside the orb. And this it's the power. And we look, leading up to this point, we have met some of the Infinity Stones. We had the Tesseract, which was in the Avengers and in Captain America. We had the Mind Stone, which was in Loki's staff. And we had the truck, which, no, I'm kidding. We had the Reality Stone, which was in Thor the Dark World. But we never were told that they were Infinity Stones. And this is where a important part of the whole MCU really was told to the audience. Now I was talking about the Infinity Stones.
Well, I think up until this movie, their goal wasn't the Infinity Gauntlet. I think this is the turning point in the movies themselves, where the executives and Kevin Feige said we need to start narrowing down where we're going. And I think so, because you got to remember, if Thanos was looking for an Infinity Stone, okay. So look back at the original Avengers movie. If Thanos was looking to collect Infinity Stones, why would he give Loki one of the Infinity Stones to go to Earth with?
Well, look, Loki is a god. He's powerful.
But what I'm saying is, when you look at the grand scheme of the idea behind the movies and the Infinity Stones, if Thanos' goal was to collect all the Infinity Stones, he wouldn't take the Mind Stone, which was in the scepter, and give it to Loki and say, go to Earth and try to take and deliver Earth to me. Do you see what I'm saying? I think in this movie, they finally decided we're going to start focusing on Infinity Stones, and they utilized what they had done in the past and brought it current with the Infinity Stone story.
I think I somewhat agree. I think definitely in Phase 2, they really focused on Thanos and the storyline, because, we obviously had met Thanos previously in Phase 1 and the beginning of Phase 2, but this scene with the Collector tells us pretty much the overarching storyline of the whole MCU.
Right. And here's my thing. I feel that from the very beginning, and maybe I'm giving him too much credit, I actually feel Kevin Feige did have the Infinity Stones as the idea from the very beginning.
I agree.
I feel this movie was the movie where he started to bring it together. I think at this point we weren't yet bringing it you're right, we hadn't heard Infinity Stones yet, but this is the movie where he started to make that connection, so that we were starting to turn the corner, as I'm going to call it. Okay, right. That's how I saw it. But I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's how I saw it. This is the one that turned the corner to start getting us to start to understand that there are 6 stones that this guy's ultimately going after.
Well, I think when you look at it this way, if you look at it that way, it's true. He probably had an idea, but up until Avengers, Marvel was their own company.
Right.
Once you get into Avengers, now you have a Disney company. So Disney now puts Kevin Feige in charge of the Marvel universe, right? So now before that, you had much more hands in the pockets, much more hands in the movie saying, we need to include this, we need to include this, we need to include this. And that's why you ended up with a subpar Iron Man 3 and a subpar Iron Man 2, because it was just too much at the same time. Once Disney said, okay, we're going to let you focus on what you want to tell your complete and 100% story, they had the right person in charge.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Now, if Disney would have said, this is who we're going with, and we want to have the only involvement Disney pretty much had was cut down on the blood, cut down on the sex, because you wouldn't have had the exact same storylines if Disney was in charge in the beginning.
I would say as soon as Disney made that decision was when they saw the first Avengers film make $1 billion at the box office. As soon as they saw that, they were like, right, we're going to go full straight ahead with this. They're not going to back down from this. They put full trust in Kevin Feige. Look, if they didn't trust Kevin Feige, we wouldn't have had a Guardians of the Galaxy film.
Correct.
Because no one knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was.
Well, right. But I think by that point we had, look, it all starts with the first movie. Okay, you have to look, Star Wars, the 3 films we just got in Star Wars, they were successful because they had 2 words that they began.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. That's exactly right. If the original 3 were bombs, we wouldn't have the 7 to 8 movies that followed.
No.
They had to be successful. Iron Man was successful. Thor was successful. Hulk was relatively successful. Look, I love Thor personally. I know a lot of people hate it. I like serious Thor. I don't like Thor. I don't like Thor as a punchline. I hated Ragnarok. We'll get into that one day. Sorry. It was a sitcom. If I want to watch a sitcom, I'll go watch Bosom Buddies. Oh my god, it's a horrible movie.
I'm gonna get a graphic saying Ragnarok.
God. Oh, it's horrible. But anyway, Thor is a punchline, and what they did to him in the Infinity movies as a fat Thor, just oh my god.
I didn't. Well, see, here's the biggest difference.
I was getting off track.
Let's not get off track.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Because I mean, they handled PTSD in one movie, and then they handled PTSD in another movie a totally different way. So I'm not going to get off that track, but I think when you're talking,
look at Jelly's.
Clearly,
never heard of Star Wars. Oh, she's so funny.
But this was a good scene, and what's great about James Gunn and the Collector is all the little things he put into the Collector's.
Yeah, in the different. I agree.
All the little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But
you gotta be quick-eyed to see them because they're not there long. They're not there long. But ultimately, what happens is we actually see for the first time the power of that Power Stone, because his servant, the maid servant, whatever you want to call her, slave. To be honest with you, she says, "I will not. I'm not going to bow to you anymore." And she tries to literally take and hold the Power Stone with her bare hands. And she totally destroys the Collector's whatever house or whatever you want to call it. She disintegrates, blows up. That's how powerful the Power Stone is. And we see that for the first time. And
favorite is when they get out of the shop. When Quill gets it, Rocky goes, "Why do you still have this thing?"
It's so funny. Andrew used to welcome in Bob. One Stop Mouse, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you too.
Well, I mean, and you look at it when he's handing over the orb and he drops it. That was a mistake in filming.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
it was funny.
So
that's funny.
And they made this lighthearted, and
they did.
I find this movie and Thor Ragnarok together. You know, the style of these two movies go together.
But see, for me, they started these characters out as comedic characters.
That is
Thor
correct.
wasn't started that way. And
no,
if
he
you
wasn't.
read the comics, he wasn't like that in the comics. He wasn't a comedic Thor. He was Thor, the
Correct.
god of thunder.
Guardians of the Galaxy is next week's show, okay?
No,
I'm sorry.
But no. But ultimately, so in Nowhere, Ronan comes down and they get the orb. They get what they're there for. He does take it.
Drax gets his butt whipped.
He does.
He badly.
He gets handled.
Hold on.
Smoke.
Look, if anybody here knows wrestling, this is Dave Bautista, the
I know
animal.
who Dave Bautista is.
Animal Bautista got his butt whooped. And
He did. He got handled.
He got rock bottom by, and stone cold stunned by this guy. And
But Ronan, everybody has to remember, Ronan the Accuser is, first off, one of my favorite villains in the Marvel Universe. I wish they had used him more. I think he was underutilized.
Absolutely, he was underutilized.
Such a powerful, powerful villain. Dude, this guy backtalked Thanos right to his face. In this movie, it's one of the best scenes when he goes up to him and he's like, first he kills his servant right in front of him, and then he says, I don't remember what he said to him, just like, dude, you're talking to Thanos like that?
I think I do like the villain a lot.
Hey, Rob.
I think his motive. I don't think I get a lot of his motivations why he wants to destroy Xandar. The whole Kree, his people, and the Xandarian people have a big. And we don't really know why. And I'm kind of just I wish I knew a little bit more, because for me, all he wants to do is this big bad guy who wants to blow up the world, and it's not.
It's like the Hatfields. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys.
Right.
That's the problem. The only problem I see with the movie is the motivation for Ronan to destroy Xandar.
I like the character. I
love it.
His motivation is a bit.
What's up, Carlos?
It's weak.
Hey, Carlos.
Well, they don't expand on it. They explain why he just his religion, his people. This has been a war between these two for years, right. Thousands of years, and he's not just because they signed a peace treaty. That's not good enough for him. They just didn't expand on it.
Well, it's pretty much equal to the United States in World War the United States fighting a war in, say, the Spanish-American War. When the war is over, or the United States and Japan, you had those people on some of the Japanese soldiers still on the island who never heard or won't believe that his emperor signed a peace treaty. So there's for years. There's been then stories.
He was misinformed.
Correct. Either that or he refused to believe that his government and he thought his government sold the rest. For
he
all
could have been a
parents,
warmonger and wanted to be. He just wanted war.
Right. In other words, my parent died. My parents' parents died fighting this war that we just signed a peace treaty for, and he wants blood for that. So
forever.
It's a very weak.
Yeah, I think they could have expanded on it for sure.
But he is powerful. You do feel like.
Oh yeah.
And I think when he does defeat Drax on Nowhere, it shows how powerful he is. I do feel his power because he didn't even break a sweat. He just he dodged everything. He was like Neo from the Matrix. He was just flinging everything. He was great.
Yeah, he didn't even flinch. I agree. And so they do ultimately, he does get the weapon that he was there for. He gets the orb. And then that's when he, at this point, kind of pushing forward, he's going to Xandar.
He's off to take his revenge. Yeah.
Yep. And you know what, who we have not even touched on this character yet, and I can't believe we haven't touched on him yet, is Yondu.
Yeah, well, this is where he comes in.
And let's talk a little bit about Yondu. Not to go back too far, but Yondu was the one who actually came down to Earth and took Peter Quill as a child. When they beamed him up, Scotty, that's whose ship he went into. That they explain more of the reason why he did that in the second movie. We won't get into that. But he's been with Yondu this whole time. And when he originally went to get the orb, he went to get the orb for Yondu, and he kind of betrayed Yondu. So Yondu's been after Peter Quill as well, saying he was going to kill him and eat him. But
Yondu's the one who put the bounty out on Quill that made Rocket and Groot go and meet.
Yes.
So, I mean, if it wasn't for Yondu, Rocket and Groot wouldn't know.
Exactly.
Right.
Well,
exactly. Oh, 100%. You're exactly right. 100%.
My favorite is when they do get captured by Yondu and the Ravagers, or they're like space pirates, and they're trying to sort things out. I love when Drax is on top of the ship and Rocket is over on the tower.
I'll give you 5 seconds.
He goes, "Attention, idiots! The lunatic on top of the ship is holding a plasma rifle gun. I'm going to give you the count of 5. What are you going to do with a count of 5? It's great. It's just perfect. It's Rocket's lines and the lunacy of Drax, which it just.
Well, he takes everything literal. He takes everything.
And
literal.
you know what? I love the character Drax. That's a little over your head. Nothing goes over my head.
I'm too fast. I would catch it.
Don't call me a princess.
They all really have funny lines, like when he's in there and
my finger to his throat.
Right. Yeah. Well, I like the line when Rocket's building. He's building the bomb inside the ship, and Gamora says to him, "We're not building any bombs on this ship." And he goes, "You just like to suck the life out of everything." Or something like that. He says, "You like to suck the joy out of everything." Or
The quips of Rocket.
Well, come on. One of the best misunderstood, maybe some people get it, maybe the younger generation do not get it, is the line, you should see this place in a black light. It looks like a Drax painting. So, I mean, I'll stop right there.
We'll leave it there.
But I mean, some of the jokes are for adults, and
yes,
and
that one is.
That one definitely is, and I'm not going to explain it for you young people out there. You know, Dan doesn't know what that is, so
trust me.
He's the young kid.
I'm very used to whatever.
Yeah,
we get to my favorite part of the movie, which is when they sort things out with Yondu and the Ravagers and kind of think about what their plan is to next.
Like a 20% of a plan.
So when they all sit, well, you know me, I love a good just sitting and talking scene.
Yes.
And when they all sit in that circle and just talk about, hey, like, he goes, you know what I see, all of us? I see losers. And, you know, it talks about, like, how people have been hated all their lives and, you know, how they have no friends. And I love that. I love the fact that this sort of brings... Have you got an email or a fax? You just took something out of the printer. It's a fax?
No. Nope. Stuff I need.
When he has all things... When they all talk about sort of their feelings and that they're going to die as friends, I love that. And Star-Lord just wants to do some good. And, you know, Gamora stands and Groot stands and Drax stands. And then Rocket goes, oh, I don't have a long lifespan anyway. And he stands up and he goes, great. We're all standing here in a circle like a bunch of Jackton.
Yeah, this is one of the first movies where they had a lot of actual profanity in it, actually, compared to what you normally get in a Marvel movie.
I've got a plan.
For a Disney movie, which this is still under the Disney moniker, they did let them slide with some of the verbiage in here, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine if they do or if they don't. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care either way. I mean, for character development, I guess I could see it a little bit.
It makes it almost feel a little bit more real.
It does.
But I'm not. See, I've said this from a billion times. I don't need it to be real. I'm not there for real. I'm not there to relate to these characters. I go to the movies to get away from reality.
It's not going to be real.
I'm not there to see the bad guy win. I'm there to see the good guy win, ride off into the sunset, get the girl. We have enough of the bad guys winning in real life. Let the good guys win on TV. I don't need to.
It's escapism.
I'm sorry. It's escapism for me. For me.
I mean, and it is for me too. I do love these movies for the escapism. Sometimes, and we just had this discussion on Nerd Talk. Sometimes when watching these movies, you have to disconnect yourself from your literal thinking, because if you think about these movies literally,
there's a lot of holes. There's holes, sure. K Atwood welcome in, and Super Disney fan welcome in. So let's get, because we are coming up on the hour, and we might run a little bit over. Tracy, if you have to go, you let me know.
That's fine.
But let's get to the final act, because ultimately Ronan's got the orb. So where's he going? He wants to go to the one place he wants to destroy. And he's now going to get the help that he wants from Thanos because he got the orb. He's going to Xandar. And he's going to destroy Xandar. And ultimately he gets there with his ship, and he's in the process of destroying it when the help comes. And it's a really good scene. I like this scene a lot.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and the whole I love the sort of the build up to it, where all the Guardians sort of suit up like X-Men superheroes, and they listen to Cherry Bomb by Joe Jenner, the Black Hearts.
Yeah,
and
Cherry Bomb.
And they all sort of, I love the sort of the start where you see the two Ravager ships. They send those two cannon shots to the ship, the Ronin ship, and then they send all the ships out with them, and they dive underneath, and it's like it feels like I'm in a Star Wars space scene. It really does. Like it feels really great to have something like that in the MCU. And you got Yondu in one ship, you have Rocket in another ship, and then you have the rest of the Guardians in another ship. And it's just so much fun. And Yondu gets taken out early, which goes into one of my funny sort of scenes that I love when he just stands in the middle of a field. He gets out his little arrow and whistles and kills like everybody in like a second. I love it.
Great character. Great character.
And he even gets better in the second one. So we'll talk about that another time. But
sure. Well, I really like the fact that the Nova Corps is there, and they build this wall, really, of protection. And they understand that they know what's going to happen as this ship approaches the wall, that they're going to die. A lot of them are going to be crushed to death, especially if the wall breaks. And that's the whole point, is they're there to hold this ship back. And
when all the starfighters lock in, when they go locked in, and I was like, Red Leader, standing by.
Well, you know, and what I liked about this is I want to see how this is going to interact. And we're all Disney Park fans. I mean, that Nova Corps spaceship is what they're displaying in front of Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
Cosmic Rewind, yeah.
So I really like to know how they're going to utilize the Nova Corps in their ride, because if that's what they're putting out front, I'm assuming that the Nova Corps and the Guardians of the Galaxy ride will have something to do with Xandar or maybe this part of the movie. Maybe.
Right. Kat, good to see you. Perfectly, Kat is here. Kat, we miss you too. Hope you're doing well. But in the end, they do get in there. They do destroy the ship. The ship comes down to Earth. But the game's not over yet, because Ronin's still alive, and he comes out, and he's going to go one-on-one with Star-Lord. And for me, guys, look, this is the worst part of the movie.
Come on, the dance-off?
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. If I was Ronin, I would have just taken that hammer over his head in 2 seconds and said, you idiot.
Realistically, if they would have used the character the way they developed him, that's exactly what he would have done. He would have
smartest villain. He's
not. My God. It was so dumb. I'm like,
but
dude,
it's on par for this movie.
He double-crossed Thanos. He's not the smartest villain in the world.
That is true.
And look, I kind of like it because it shows Peter Quill's character. Because hey, look, these aliens, they don't know what this guy is doing. That's why he's like, what are you doing? Like,
they probably thought he was in a trance.
Bro. Yeah, I know, but it just, I don't know. And then it was weird for me. And then of course, ultimately they kick it out of his hand or something in the
it's a distraction, you big turd blossom.
Yeah, exactly. And then you see the Infinity Stone in the air, and again, this is where it kind of got a little weird for me. When he grabs it, what is it that made him not blow? I understand all of them grabbed it together. So they So that part
explained
they explained late. So when they defeated Ronan and they were sort of, talking about what they're going to do with the orb, basically they took analysis when he was in jail that his mother was human, but his father was some 1,000-year-old entity. Right. And that's the reason why he was able to hold the Infinity Stone for a long time. They explained that. Okay. And I feel like they had to explain that, otherwise.
Yeah, they did.
Because if they didn't, then why didn't he end up like the slave from the Collector? Right.
I mean, it's setting it up for Guardians of the Galaxy too, and getting to know who Peter Quill's father was.
I like that because it's all these subtle.
It is subtle.
I do like it.
Yeah, I
And
agree. It's definitely subtle for
Can
sure.
I just say we did miss this Groot's sacrifice.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
Right,
really
exactly.
that really when he said we are Groot.
We are Groot.
like, I know it sounds really like I don't know. I just love that. Like,
It's
right. It's when they're all on the ship. They're all on Ronan's ship, and the ship is going down, and they can't get off the ship. And the only way for them to really, all of them to be protected is they got to get inside this kind of almost like cocoon that he makes. But for him making this cocoon, it's going to sacrifice Groot.
And it truly does sacrifice that Groot.
That Groot, yes.
Because
when he says we are Groot, like that's him saying like, it's not I, it's all of us together. It's basically saying we are family. That's
We
pretty
are
much
family.
what he's
Right.
Welcome, Kelly, the Mickey Bunch.
Kelly.
Welcome in.
Because the Groot that you see in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and the Endgame is actually Groot's offspring.
It's different, yeah. It's a different Groot.
He's going to have a different life experience, so you can't expect to have the same Groot in this movie.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was basically the end of the Groot we knew from the first movie, for sure.
Sorry, I
that's-
just had to throw that in because
I agree. No, it's a great part, and that's and that's one. That's why I'm glad you chimed in, because it really is an important part of that movie for sure. But in the end, they do defeat. Ronan. Ronan is defeated. They saved Xandar. Ultimately, let me ask you this: didn't Xandar take the Infinity Stone?
Yes.
Doesn't Nova Prime have it? Doesn't
Yes.
she have it?
They lock away this is the Power Stone.
Right.
So they lock away the Power Stone in the Nova Core.
Right. That's what it was in the Nova.
So
Corps. Okay.
by the time you get to Infinity War,
he already has it.
He's already has it. So you have to put it in your head that Nova Corps and Xandar ended up with the same fate that was going to happen in this movie because Thanos came for that stone. So
Right.
he did to Xandar what Ronan wanted to do to the Xandar.
Yeah, he did.
It
Yeah,
just
didn't
happened off
He didn't
screen.
even have an Infinity Stone.
Correct.
Remember that? He came in with no Infinity Stone and he still destroyed Xandar.
Right.
To get that Infinity Stone.
Yes.
What's also nice about this movie is it also set us up for the Eternals, which is coming out soon.
Yep.
Which is it's in the next phase. This sets us up for the Eternals.
Yep.
Mhm.
So
And Guardians 2 and Guardians 3 as well.
all of this movie sets up this secondary, and I think you were right, Dan. Or what? This says, it brought in the Star Wars. It brought in that Star Wars, Star Trek fandom. It took. It was a comic book movie.
It gave a sci-fi aspect to it. Yeah.
It brought in your space nerds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It brought in your space nerds, which sci-fi I like. Star Trek and Star Wars. I mean, I lean more Star Wars, but I also remember and watched a lot of Star Trek. So to me, those two genres was a perfect mix into this into this movie.
I agree 100%. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the in the end, they all leave together. They are now the Guardians of the Galaxy. They are the team. And that's it. They defeated. They won. Thank goodness. They saved Xandar for the time being. And that's your movie. Now, I got to ask you guys, because it's been so long. I actually started watching it before I got about a half an hour to go. I don't remember the end credits scene for this movie.
So
This
end credits, one of them was the Dancing Groot with Drax.
Oh,
Correct.
that's right.
And the other one was
The Collector.
The Collector.
Wasn't it Howard the Duck?
With Howard the Duck.
right.
Which I was super excited. Look, if Howard the Duck showed up at the end of Endgame, I would have been like, this is the best thing ever.
He did show up at Endgame.
He was in
Did he?
Endgame. He's
Yeah.
in there. He's in there.
If-
When
if-
all the
if-
characters showed up and came through the portholes, he's there.
If you pause it and you look through, Howard the Duck is one of the characters that come through the portholes at
Stop.
Endgame.
He's there. He's there.
I need to check that out.
So, in fact, when we started Nerd Talk this afternoon, that was my starting screen name was Howard the Duck.
No,
Charlie
I
and
didn't
Stacey,
see
welcome.
him.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, so
I
when
think he's
they
in the
all
scene when Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp,
Yeah.
comes through. I think when she comes through, You'll see her, and then you'll see some characters coming through, and real fast you'll see him.
Very quick.
It's quick, dude.
It's like catching Kermit in the little. It's like
it's like really fast.
It's super fast, almost like during if you've ever watched Little Mermaid, there's a Kermit, there's a Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy.
Yeah.
It's that quick of a shot. You have to know.
How the Duck in Endgame. Oh my god, I didn't even know.
Yeah, he's in there. He's there. It's quick though. It's really, really quick.
Very quick.
Yep. All right, so we are at 7:00, and as usual, everybody in the chat, this is where you come in on this as well. It's time for our letter grade. Okay, A+ to an F. We all going to give our letter grades. Everybody in the chat, I want you to give your letter grade. We do the chat last. Our special guest gets to go first, gets to say his letter grade, and then explain it. And
Tracy, also throw in your favorite character. Throw in your favorite character as well.
Okay. A. I give it an A.
A.
All right, because obviously there are some movies that are higher. I would say this was in. See, we're going to tier these, so I say this is an A.
Nice.
This favorite character is obviously Rocket. You can't go wrong. Rocket's the smart aleck that I can be. You know.
So I love it.
I love so. And my favorite scene. You said favorite character, favorite scene.
Yes.
Favorite scene's a tough one, but I think it's when you're dealing with the prison break scene. You know, when you have Rocket explaining the prison break, and he's saying, and it's very important that the battery is what we get last, and here we have Groot already pointing out.
First.
And then you have and then you have Drax, who, when he doesn't know who Quill is, he goes, "You who slept with an Oscarian," you know, stuff like that. The whole idea behind all of that and how they become together, I think it's an A. Rocket and the prison break scene.
Oh, I was just kidding about the leg.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
I just want to see if you could do it.
What was he looking like without a leg? No, that's great. That's
So,
great.
who was your favorite character? Did you say
Rocket?
Rocket. Okay. Dan, what about you? Favorite character? And what was your grade? I'm sorry, Tracy.
A.
Got it. All right, Dan. For character, scene, and your letter grade.
So, favorite scene is when they all sit together on the Ravager ship discussing themselves and how they were going to become friends rather than fighting amongst each other, and they all stand in a circle. I those scenes really get it for me because those are the sort of messages of the film. So that scene is definitely my favorite. Favorite character? I'm gonna go with Star-Lord on this one. I think just from his background to where he ends up, his whole character development and how they built around this character is fantastic. And my grade, I'm gonna give it an A-. A+ is like God level, tearjerker, like everything. A is like, for me, is like the next to perfect film. But A- is good. I still feel like Ronan was, for me, the weakest part of the film. Like, I just wanted a bit more backstory, a bit more sort of depth to his character. But look, the music's great, the script's great, the characters are great. It's a great movie, and I recommend everybody watching it.
Gotcha. That's great. So for me, it gets a B+. Nice. A's and A+ are really hard for me to give out. It gets a B+ because I was very surprised by it. I knew nothing about the characters, and I really liked the movie a lot. So it gets a B+ for me. I enjoy this movie. I can watch it over. It's not one of those that it's a one and done. I do enjoy seeing it.
George of the Jungle.
It's not a George of the Jungle. Not even close. My favorite scene and character are one and the same. I know you guys don't like him. Ronan's my favorite character. I really enjoyed the bad guy in this. I just wish there was more of him. I agree they could have developed him better. And the scene with him and Thanos up there
Nice
in the sanctuary, as it's called, is a really cool scene. And it's what really disappoints me about Ronan in this movie, because that just goes to show you how tough and how demented he was, to the point that he would backtalk Thanos right to his face. And yet they didn't really exploit that enough and make him a really really, really scary bad guy that they could have. And
We
but I
will
do
see
enjoy
Ronan
his character.
again. We will see Ronan again as
Yes.
another movie.
But right, you're going to see Ronan again, but you're not going to get the Ronan that you have.
No,
in this movie.
no,
This
you will
no.
see him again.
This-
So that's always a plus.
we're going to see the same Ronan, and the only problem is you're not going to get an after Guardians of the Galaxy Ronan. You're going to get a previous Ronan.
Right.
And if you say like with the if we're going to see her with the next Captain Marvel film, we already know that Captain Marvel is going to wipe the floor with him anyway because she's around in Endgame. So it's
There's no match. There's no match. But
no.
But
Yeah.
look, I think
agree.
it builds on the character, which I think
Yep.
is good.
So Dan, real fast, two things I need for you to do for me. First off, let's go through the chat and see what everybody gave it as a grade.
So do you want me to go through those?
Yes, please.
All
We
right,
always
so-
do this, Tracy, if that's okay.
No,
Disney
I'm fine.
Disney Nerders Charlie gives it an A. Wendy Lou gives it an A. Kay Atwood gives it a B plus. Dre Houston gives it an A. Charlie says best eyebrows in the business. Are you talking about me or Star Lord? I don't know. Super Fluffy Yeti gives it. I give it an A. It is an easily rewatchable. Drew Myers gives it an A, and he also says Rocket may have the most tragic backstory. Super Disney Fan gives it solid A. I think that's what we have, yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, there we go. Well, all right, Dan. Before we do our mousekeeping to finish up and talk about everybody's channels, it's time for the pool. Tracy, we're pulling for next week. And before we even do that, first off, and I'm sure I speak for Dan. Tracy, thank you for being our special guest this week. I hope you had fun.
I appreciate the invite, and anytime I could talk nerd stuff,
We do appreciate you coming on.
No,
we
dude, this has been great. I hope you had a good time.
I did. And, where else can I talk nerd stuff and Disney stuff? And this community has accepted me, my daughter, and with open arms, and I'm so happy it is. And I really wish that we had started 3 months earlier, because last year in August, everybody was down there, and I just got into it afterwards. So I feel really bad that I missed seeing, because we were all there. Walt, you and I were in the same hotel.
Oh, really? That's right.
I was in the Wilderness Lodge in August.
Yeah, me too.
And so, it just 3 months earlier would have totally changed, our relationship with the rest of the communities, where I'm coming in after everybody hit the big meetup for Galaxy's Edge, and you guys said, but I'm happy that you guys accepted me and my daughter, and
we're blessed to have you. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're phenomenal. You're phenomenal, folks, and we're honored and blessed to have you part of this community. And we're really glad that you said yes to come on tonight. You're awesome, dude.
We Walden and I love doing these Disney movie reviews, but when there is someone we know that would bring that extra sort of review to the film, we really love having guests. And Tracy, we thought of you straight away for Guardians of the Galaxy. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Drew Myers says, which movie are we reviewing next? Well,
here we go.
Drew Myers.
Funny you asked.
We are going to pick the film. Now, if you guys don't know,
pull out one of the real weird ones.
Walt and I do reviews on alternate channels. So next week, the review will be on my channel. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. That's where the next review will be. So here we go.
Just so you know, not this. Obviously, this week was Guardians. The week before, it was the Cat from Outer Space.
The what?
The Cat from Outer Space.
1978. Right, here we go. I have a movie.
Oh, the Black Hole. Please, if you haven't done the Black Hole yet, that would be awesome.
Not done the Black Hole yet. Ooh, okay. We are going back to Disney animation. A film that I don't think I've seen since my childhood, and that is The Rescuers.
I've never seen The Rescuers.
We are watching The Rescuers this week.
Now, it's not The Rescuers Down Under. It's just The Rescuers.
The original Rescuers, which is going to be a lot of fun. If you guys don't know, we review these films every week, and it's kind of like our Disney book club, but for movies on Disney Plus. Guys, go watch The Rescuers this week, and then come join us on Sunday, 6 p.m., and review it with us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's do some quick mousekeeping. Again, Dean over at The Live Place. Check him out, theliveplace.com. He is family-friendly streams throughout the week. Again, There are live streamers on there that go from the parks, but if you're looking for live streams like this, where we're just talking Disney and talking Disney content, not necessarily from the parks, the live place is really the place to go to find those different streams for sure. So if you're not sure of the day of the week at the time, theliveplace.com. It's the TV guide of live streamers for sure. Check them out. 2 partner channels here with me. Of course, this guy right over here, Dan. Disney Dan. I'm tired. Dan goes live on Thursdays, Fridays with Disney food. Disney Food Fridays sometimes, but the big night is Saturday nights with Disney Fiasco. And of course, right here on Sundays with me for Disney Movie Review. Steve goes live on Mondays with Just Another Monday Night, Wednesdays with the Disney Crew, and Saturdays with me with Sports Night or Non-Sports Night. So check out my 2 partner channels. Members, thank you all. Your membership, your loyalty, your generosity. I have no words for it. I just appreciate you, both Melissa and I do. Thank you for all that you've done to help our channel grow. Thank you for that. And Tracy, again, buddy, what's coming up for you and your channel?
Well, again, it's Tracy Glenn, Kenzie Days' dad. So, of course, I'm going to promote Kenzie, if that's okay with you guys.
Absolutely. And if one of my mods could put their links in the chat, please go check out their channels.
Kenzie goes tomorrow at 4:30 to 5:30 on Sundays. On Mondays. So she hasn't come up with a topic yet. So she should be pretty open to what she's doing. Thursdays, I'd go on with Not Wasting Time from 4 to 5 Eastern. I call it my Dreaming with the Mouse prep show because they usually come in. I'd like to start, I got to have a topic in mind. I think there's a couple things I want to get done. I know I had Dan on for Sherlock, The Study of Pink. I really should do the next Sherlock movie, which is still available on Netflix. So I got to figure out what.
Let me just say this. If you're talking about the BBC show with Benedict Cumberbatch, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. When you get to A Scandal in Belgravia, Season 2, Episode 1, I'm asking you to call me.
Listen,
it's one of my single favorite episodes of any show of all time.
Listen, well, I think I don't know. I'll talk to Dan or message Dan. See, no. Believe me, I love Sherlock. I mean, it's a great show. So I might actually do it this week. And between my channel and her channel, we have a couple partner channels. Russ Stapleton, There's Our Dreams, and Kenzie Days. We do Nerd Talk on Sundays at 4:00. We're still up in the air depending on what time, because lately the 4:00 hour has been getting a little tight. So right now we're at 4:00 on Sundays, and our next movie is Spider-Man: Far From Home, which will be the end of our Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe lineup. And then we're going to do Spider-Man: Far From Home. The week after that, we're going to do a tier system where we put all the Marvel movies in which tier we think they should belong. And then we're going to do 2 weeks of Mandalorian recap, Season 1. And then by the time we get done with that, we'll be ready for Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, which that's what started Nerd Talk, was The Mandalorian, and we can't wait to get back to it.
Awesome. There you go. So plenty coming from Kenzie and also Tracy. Be sure to check out their channels, folks. Please do that. They are great channels with great content. But more than that, they're really wonderful people, and that's what matters most to me and Dan, is having very good people. It's our pleasure, by all means.
I got to put my glasses on because you're gonna make me start crying.
Yeah, right.
The day Tracy starts crying.
Last but not least, thank you to all of our mods for all that you do, and thank you to everyone in the chat. I say this each and every week. You have a choice of where you spend your time. Your time is precious, and you decided to spend your time with us here today, and we're honored and very thankful and blessed that you did that. So thank you for spending your time with us. We hope you enjoyed the show today. Hope you got some fun, got some laughs out of it, got some information from it, and hopefully you'll come back next week. Until then, Dan, how do you end your shows?
I say eat more turkey legs.
What else do you say?
No, it's live your life with a smile each and every day.
Gotcha. Tracy, do you have a special sign-off for your show?
I usually say thank you for giving, because I teach firematics, and usually at the end of my lesson, I would say thank you for giving me your Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. And since the people gave me their time, in chat, I would say thank you for giving me your Sunday night, and hope to see you soon.
Amen to that. And we always say, again, thank you for being here, and take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk to you all really, really soon. Bye, everybody.